I believe you can have it all and you do not have to struggle to get it. If life feels hard, your tasks seem impossible, or you just don't like the options laid out before you, I promise you there is a better way. My name is Melanie McSally, your Better Way architect, and I welcome you to the WyzeCast Show. Today's guest is Ed McCabe, who uses his gifts and wisdom to help himself and others live life filled with joy and vitality. He's here today to teach us about the power of Cali dancing and how we might use this modality to find our better way. So welcome, Ed. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me on, Melanie. It's lovely to be here, and I love talking about Cali dancing because it's just such a great thing.
Yeah. And where are you joining us from in the world?
Well, I'm in Edinburgh, and which is where I was. I've spent most of my life, but I did live in London for 10 years. And when I was there, I set up the Ceilidh Club in 1998. So the Ceilidh Club still runs, and I travel down to London maybe once or twice a month.
Nice. 1998 is when I got into this career that I'm in now, which is
There you are.
too. So
Yep.
yeah, awesome. And so, Cali, is this the dance that is featured in Outlander?
Well, here's my first confession. I've never seen Outlander, so I don't know. I know that all Scots people should, one, play golf, secondly, be able to do a Sean Connery impersonation, and thirdly, have watched Outlander, but I've never seen Outlander. But if there's a little bit of fiddle, deedly, 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 deedly dee going on, and people are dancing one hand to the other and being twisted and turned, then that probably is Ceilidh dance. I mean, Ceilidh is a Gaelic word. So in Scotland, we have three languages. We have English, we have Scots, and that's the language that Robert Burns wrote a lot of his poetry in. And we could speak in Scots if you want to, but it's a wee bit harder to understand. If you can, that's all right. And we have Gaelic, and Gaelic is the word Ceilidh is a Gaelic word. Cimrahal is Gaelic for how are you. Morantang is Gaelic for thank you. But Gaelic is a very different language altogether. And it's very similar to Irish, traditional Irish Gaelic and Scottish Gaelic. And Ceilidh is a Gaelic word meaning gathering, coming together. So traditionally, people would say, come on, we'll go round to such and such's cottage and we'll have a Ceilidh tonight, which would just mean a gathering of people together. And in the days before internet and social media, people would bring their instruments, or they would tell a story, or they would read a poem, or they would have a wee dance. And that was a Ceilidh, a gathering. But the way we use it in the Ceilidh Club is we just concentrate on the dancing. So we have 3 hours of dancing to a live band in collar, and we all get in a room together. The dances are explained, everybody joins in, we get hot and sweaty, we have a laugh, and we go home.
Nice. Well, I used to be a competitive swing dancer, and it sounds a lot like social dancing in the swing community.
It's all social dancing, and wherever you go in the world, you will find some folk dancing of some sorts. It's usually 1, 2, 3 something, and that's it. And you can do it with one person, 3 people, 6 people, 8 people, 16, whatever. But yeah, it's folk dancing that manifests itself all throughout the world.
And it sounds like pure joy.
It is. It's absolute pure joy, and I think it's joyful for different reasons. And I think because joy is probably is if you cut up the pie of joy, there's different things to it. So one element is people love to get together. People generally love to get together with other like-minded folk or even unlike-minded folk, but the actual social aspect of coming together is a human need. And having lived through COVID, I'm sure we're all aware of exactly what that's like. Sit in your room, in your bedroom for weeks at a time without seeing anybody. People love being together. They're absolutely gagging to get together. And I thought COVID might have killed off our business. In fact, it was just a hiatus. And after COVID was over, people couldn't wait to get back in a room together. So I think that's an element of it. I think generally for a lot of dancing or Ceilidh dancing is that people they might not have done it before. And it's actually a lot easier than you might think it is. And so you learn something. And when people are learning something, that also makes you feel good about something as well. And thirdly, it's tactile. You actually get to touch another human being in a friendly way, and you get to hold people. This has all been, in the world that we live now. I know that all sounds that there's a lot of dodginess surrounding those sorts of words, but actually, dancing and holding somebody close is a really lovely thing to do, and it's great. So I think there's the whole aspect of holding hands, dancing together, coming together, and of course, when you've got music, and I'm sure if you haven't had somebody on your podcast talking about the effects of music on the brain, then I'm sure there's lots of people out there who would love to come on. But the effects of neuroscience says what effect music has on the brain and how wonderful that is. When you put all these things together in a room, um, then it is just joyful altogether. It is utterly joyful. And so, no matter what you're doing and what your thoughts are, and your head's in a space with work or an argument or something else, once you're in that room together and you're concentrating on who's coming next in the line, or you're dancing with this person, or whatever's going on, you can't concentrate on anything else. You're taken away, you're transported to a different place, and you come out just smiling.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I have so many questions I want to ask now. They're all like coming in my brain. So when I was doing swing dancing, Lindy Hop specifically, there was this percent, a pretty high percentage of the people who were doing it, the people who were in the community regulars, were high stakes professions like engineers and doctors and lawyers. And the thought is that these professions that are like high stakes and stressful and leadership based really need a joyful outlet like that, where they can just like turn it all off and let loose in a safe and fun environment. So that sounds like what you're describing when you're talking about.
Yeah, I think absolutely, absolutely. We all need to, if we're doing a stressful job, we need to have a release in some way or other. And I think the good thing about dance, in particular, and dancing to live music, is just the fact that it takes you away from all of the things that you've been thinking about, and the rest of it. And it's a great leveler as well. So you might find the person who is at the top of their profession is actually a bit of a rubbish dancer, and we're all unconfident somewhere in life, aren't we? Right? There's somewhere in life where we're all unconfident about, and we lack the confidence. But actually, just by doing it a little bit, you get better and better at it. And that's, as I was saying earlier, that's one of the joyful things. But it is a great leveler, and it doesn't matter if you're rubbish or if you're actually brilliant at it. All that matters is that you're taking part, and it's a communal aspect, communal thing. People are helping each other to say, actually, no, you don't go over there, you go over there, and helping each other. And people like to help each other. That's the interesting thing about human nature, is that what social media gives us is a view of human nature, I think, that is often very negative. But actually, people are extraordinarily nice and kind to each other. Strangers are kind to each other. And the media often wants to divide us because it sells newspapers, it gives you clicks. But actually, putting people in a room together, people are kind, people are helpful, and people get a kick out of something else. And I'm sure you may have covered this on your podcast previously, but the act of kindness has enormous benefits to everybody, not just to the person receiving the kindness, but to the person giving the kindness. But this I find the most interesting part of it, to somebody observing an act of kindness. Everybody benefits from that. And I think in a social dance situation, you're getting a lot of that kindness being spread about the place. So I think for everybody, from high flying professionals to people that might have more manual jobs, it's just a place to go and have fun.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I keep feeling all of these like personal growth opportunities and ways to learn, and you're sort of like indirectly saying them as you're talking. And people think of personal growth and they think about like going to seminars and learning tips and tricks and all the things. But actually, this is like the breeding environment for personal growth, because you got to go through consent and learn and set your own boundaries and say yes and no and all of the things. You find ways to laugh at yourself, especially when you're feeling rubbish, right? You experience a level of inclusion where maybe you don't feel that in some aspect of your life. There's so many ways and so many yeah, there's so many ways that dance is, as you say, an equalizer, normalizer for all these like things in life that beat us up that we can overcome through, like Callie, like swing dancing, like any kind of social dancing.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And the act of learning something, of improving. I mean, I tried to learn languages and I can speak a little bit of different languages and that, but it's utterly hellish. I mean, yeah, really. I mean, that just drives me bonkers. And I do it for different reasons, and it's very nice and when it goes right. But so much of life is about coping with failure, and coping with failure. I often think that entrepreneurship is like it was, I don't know who somebody's definition of leadership, which is just stumbling from one failure to another without losing any sense of enthusiasm. And that's what it's like. But don't be hard on yourself when you get things wrong, because if you're getting things wrong, you're trying, right? And you're trying to do something, and the more times you try, the more chance you've got of getting it right or a little bit better. And it's not even failing that. And so that's why what we do, in particular in Ceilidh, is that nobody cares about whether you're getting it right or wrong, or where you've got your foot here or foot there. And I think there's a whole interesting aspect about culture and how people promote or defend culture. I think sometimes that if you sometimes people are too serious about defending culture, about a right way of doing something. And you quite often find this with religious converts as well. Often the people who convert to a religion are far more fundamental about that religion than people who grew up with that religion, who go, yeah, all right, well, I know that's what it says, but actually, you don't have to do that. That was 2,000 years ago, or 3,000 or 400, whatever it is, years ago. And I think sometimes people who are trying to defend a culture and make sure everything right lose the joy of actually participating in that culture. So, and that's it. So we don't care if you get it right or wrong. In fact, you get more of a laugh if you get it wrong, and that's what it's about. So although we're promoting Scottish culture, we're actually an entertainment business. That's what we do. We're there to entertain people for 3 hours, and when we're on each night, we try to give the best 3 hours of entertainment in town. So we put ourselves up there against the Globe or Les Miserables or Arsenal or or whoever's playing that night. And we want people to go out of there thinking that's the best 3 hours I could have spent tonight anywhere in town. And we do that through the medium of Scottish culture in that aspect. Personally, I'm delighted. I get such a kick out of people coming together. And it's London, so we're an international city. We have people from all over the world coming along. And I have so many lovely little stories from people who have been told by their friends to come along. Recently, I talked to a woman from Saudi Arabia, and she was up talking to the band at the end of the night, just singing. And I said, "How did you find out about it?" She said, "I'm over from Saudi Arabia. I'm over for 2 months or so, just touring around, being a digital nomad." And she said, one of my friends was based in London, and she said, if you're going to London, you've got to go to the Ceilidh Club. And that's lovely because that's word of mouth. We try to be the best in the world at whatever we do. And I think that's it's a great goal in life at whatever you're doing, to try and be the best in the world. And as Leo Burnett, the advertiser, said, if you reach for the stars, you won't come up with a handful of mud. So I think that's what we're trying to do every single night. We're trying to reach for the stars and provide the entertainment for people, because that way people tell their friends to come along and it cuts down your advertising bill.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I was born in the United States, and we have many cultures in the United States, but as compared to other countries, we might seem a little bit more reserved and stuck up, right? And stuck to our ways of life. Obviously, like I said, many cultures and not everyone. But what has your experience been of people from the United States coming and dropping into your events? Can they let go and release and have a grand old time?
Well, and that's quite interesting because generally there are, I mean, it's hard to categorize, but I will do for this because there's kind of two groups that come from the States. There's one group who are kind of the old fogies, and they come in, they get stuck in, they're sweaty, they're having fun, they're having a laugh, and a few people have relocated from the States to London, or quite a few people have relocated from the States to London. So it kind of gives you maybe some of the mindset in terms of where they're coming from. And then there's other ones who invariably dress in black and come along and then they look on the sidelines for about 20 minutes or half an hour, often, wearing, fairly expensive clothes, and then they leave. They go out and go, that was great, thank you. They're off somewhere else. So, so that has been my observation of folk from the States and stuff. But it's still it's our second or third probably biggest. Most of our business is domestic, or hits on our website is domestic. We're still talking hits, but traffic to our website is throughout the UK. But the second or third country that we get traffic to the site from is from the US.
Yeah. Well, I'm a digital nomad, so I can be anywhere in the world at any given time. And because of that, I have clients all over the world. And so I'm delighted that people are coming to you from all over the world. And hopefully some of the people that watch this podcast will come and visit you because it sounds like such a great time. And I was in London just after COVID. And I was there for, I don't know, a month and a half. So I'm sorry that I missed, but maybe you weren't up and running yet because I saw you in Edinburgh during that
Yeah,
period. So maybe you weren't up and running yet in London
yeah,
post COVID because it was
yeah.
still we it it was the time when the United States or the other countries like opened their doors and were like, we're allowing tourists. And I was like, I'm out.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think we came back in the July of whatever year it was, or maybe we decided to come back in July and we started selling tickets for the September or something or other. But I mean, really, I mean, the first Burns Night, which is around the 25th of January, which celebrates the National Bard of Scotland, Robert Burns, is a wonderful occasion. And the first Burns Night, we came back after COVID. You could just see the magic in the air, but it took probably about 2 or 3 years. There were still people turning up saying, "This is the first time I've come out after COVID." So it has had a profound effect on people, and particularly younger people as well, I would say. And I think we're still coping with it, and I think government should be more imaginative in the ways of bringing people back into society, because I think we were in danger of losing something, and Ceilidhs are a great way of coming back and enjoying yourself after that. But yeah, sorry, go on.
Is it primarily a UK dance, or have you found places in the rest of the world that host Cali dances?
Well, lots of people will have Ceilidhs often around Burns Night in January. That would be the time. At weddings, it's very popular, and really, that's when I was growing up, we did it at school. That's what you learn at school before your dance in fifth year at school. When you're about 16, 14, 15, 16, you start learning Ceilidh dancing. And with Mr. Hunter, God bless him, he would have us in the hall shouting out instructions in terms of how to dance. And then, so that's what you do. You don't just have a disco, or you have a Ceilidh band, and you Ceilidh dance in Scottish schools, a lot of Scottish schools. And it's great that you can see stuff on YouTube of 300 kids doing Ceilidh dancing, and so that then goes on to weddings. So people in Scotland will often have a Ceilidh wedding, and so throughout the world, a lot of the bands that play at the Ceilidh Club will fly to different places throughout the world, either for Burns Night or for a wedding somewhere. And you will have a Ceilidh at the wedding, and it is just the best thing in the world. It's the thing that brings all your cultures together. It's a thing that people enjoy most. And at my wedding, we had a Ceilidh band for 3 hours. And that was about as long as they, that's quite a long time. It's quite tough going to be a band for that length of time. So we had a disco afterwards, and the disco was a complete disaster. People left the floor and they all went to their own little places, and people would only dance to the tunes that they liked and everything else. Ceilidh was brilliant. Everybody involved. Disco was awful.
Huh. Is there any other aspect to the wedding that makes it Ceilidh, or is it specific to the dancing portion?
Of the wedding, no. Well, I mean, people would have no. The wedding is a Scottish wedding is reasonably similar to other weddings I've been to in terms of the formalities that people go through. From it all, you will likely have a piper at a Scottish wedding somewhere or other, and the bride and groom can be piped to various places, either out of the place they're getting married in or into the reception, wherever it is. So yeah, but it's mainly just the dancing that is the Ceilidh element to the wedding.
Yeah. It doesn't surprise me that, the Ceilidh dancing is everyone's involved, and then the disco part is, everyone's in their own corners and all the things. Doesn't surprise me at all. So the other aspect to this in the social aspect is like it is drinking and alcohol and things like that. In the US, there's a lot of people who are often looking for ways to go out and have fun that's not, going to a bar and getting drunk and all the things. And so what is it like for Cali dancing? Is it, wholesome fun? Is there
Uh,
drinking involved? Is it a mixture of both? What's it like?
Well, it can be anything, and it's quite interesting in terms of the changing the changing face of the world that we live in. So when I started it in 1998, I was younger than I am today, and we used to do a deal with the oh gosh, I'm not sure I should say this. Anyway, it's all over now, and but we used to do a deal with the bar who didn't want to stock sparkling wine, and we thought that sparkling wine was quite a good addition to the Ceilidh. So we used to buy it in for the bar, and they used to sell it on our behalf and then give us a cut of the profits. Um, and then we used to, at the end of the night, we used to take a couple of bottles and then we drink them on the tube on the way home. Um, uh, and it was all quite like that. And I just met somebody the other day, again, for the first time in quite a few years, and he said, that's how I found out about the Ceilidh Club, because you were drinking cava on the way back, the Spanish sparkling wine on the way back on the tube, and and you were in a kilt, and we all started chatting, and then I came along to the Ceilidh after that. So I think the role of alcohol in general is quite interesting, because I think it does lower inhibitions. It does allow you to give you some Dutch courage, wherever that phrase comes from, in order to get up off the floor, get onto the floor and dance. And people seem to, that's handy, I think, in some ways. And then, but you're also dancing as well. So one, you don't have an awful lot of time to drink. And secondly, you are dancing and you're sweating quite a lot of it off as well. So there's that element. So, oh, excuse me, that's supposed to be on that was supposed to be on silent. I don't know why that. Oh, it's because it's linked to the phone, the computer. So so it is quite handy in some ways, but generations have changed, and younger people now are not drinking as much as they used to, as younger people used to drink in the past, which I think is probably a pretty good thing in general. And they're either because it's more expensive, or because they've seen their parents or elders make fools of themselves or say things. I'm sorry about that. I
Yeah.
don't know how to do anything about that. Maybe I'll switch my phone off altogether. It was on silent. I'll switch it off altogether. Then, if I know how to do that, right. So I think that alcohol can play a positive role in it, but actually, I think nowadays people can. It's not necessary, and you can just, if you're happy just to get involved and to have fun, without it, then that's all well and good. Certainly, it's not necessary. And we also have seen the rise of alcohol-free beers and alcohol-free spirits, which is brilliant. One of my favorite things to do is to have a Guinness 00 because it's very like a proper pint of Guinness, but it's got no alcohol in it at all. So alcohol is not necessary to enjoy it, but you will find people drinking at a ceilidh. But people do write to me and ask whether um, uh, we could have an alcohol-free ceilidh, and that's quite an interesting idea. I've not quite got round to that yet, but you never know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, in my personal experience of traveling the world, uh, alcohol events seem more problematic in the United States, probably because our drinking age is way later in life. So, people get to this like state of repression of like, like it's a big, we make it a bigger deal than it needs to be, I think. But then also, I agree with you. There is a trend in the United States where there's a lot of issues that came up in my generation's childhood, a couple of the generations after me, yours probably as well, where these kinds of things were problematic. But because of the mentality of kids these days, it's a lot less problematic. Like there's not, like I mention, problems, and it's a non-issue to kids these days because they're going to places and they're not getting drunk out of their minds where they're making poor decisions at public events, and therefore, you know others are looking for a non-alcoholic event because they don't want to be in that kind of environment of these things. So it
Yeah, I mean, I think there is. I think for me anyway, I think a live and let live attitude is pretty good for people. Everybody should feel safe and welcome, and people shouldn't be bothered by, or somebody shouldn't be so drunk as they're bothering other people. And we would probably eject somebody who, well, if anybody was bothering somebody else, we would either ask them to calm down or ask their friends to make sure the person calms down. But it doesn't tend to happen very much either because of potentially the people we're attracting or the active nature of it, and the fact that people are sweating as well and they're dancing off a lot of it. So it's not really a problem that arises at our events.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I mean, like I told you, I used to be competitive swing dancer, and this was back during my drinking days. And I will say that when I went out drinking, it wasn't to a swing dancing event. Like it was, I went to swing dancing events to swing dance, and I went to bars to drink. It was like we may have a cocktail here and there, but mostly we're drinking water because we were thirsty from dancing.
Well, that's right. Yeah, that's exactly what you want. The biggest queue in the biggest queue in the Gaelic Club is for the water cooler.
Yeah,
Get
yeah.
out. And we sell far more pints of, or we give away far more pints of water than pints of beer.
Cool. So how did you get into this in the first place?
Well, I was doing a master's in marketing in Glasgow, and along the road from me was a club called the Riverside Club. And every Friday night they would have a ceilidh to a live band, and they would open the doors at 7:30, and the doors would be closed about 8. The place was full, and then they would just dance away for the evening. And I then moved down to London to take a corporate job, and I always thought this is well, I thought this is quite a good idea. So I never wanted to work in corporate life all my life. So I stopped. I gave myself a goal at the age of 30 of being self-employed, um, because I remember I had a free Friday night once. My brother was supposed to come down to London, and he missed his plane. And I was planning to go out with him, and so I had a free Friday night. So I just went to the pub by myself, and I took a notepad and pen, and I thought I'll write down a list of all the things I want to do with my life. I was 29 then or so, or 28, and I made this list, and I thought, well, if I want to do this, then I've got no chance of doing this if I'm working for a big company. So I thought, well, I should become self-employed. and then that will give me the freedom and the space to choose or to pursue the goals that I want to pursue. So that's it. So I said, well, I'll give myself to the age of 30. I'll get my training and get some experience, and then I'll go from there. So that's what I did, and I thought I set up a marketing consultancy because that's what I'd been involved with, and on the side I set up the Ceilidh Club, and then the Ceilidh Club just grew and grew, and I found marketing consultancy to, oh, it was well paid, but I didn't find it as satisfying, because you weren't very sure what value you were really adding at the end of the day to someone's business. Um, and uh, and I thought that the Ceilidh just grew in popularity and kept growing. So I thought I'll spend more time doing that, and it's just grown and grown over the years. So yeah, that's how it all happened.
Yeah, and marketing in the 90s was much different than marketing today.
Really? Yeah. I mean, our first event in '98, I mean, it was just at the start of the internet, really. And we were getting people's email addresses on bits on a bit of paper as they came in the door and just said, if you want to sign up for our newsletter, uh, here's this. And that was brilliant because that was quite revolutionary. But I was still getting tickets printed at the time. And I was cutting up the tickets and printing them and numbering them by myself and handing them out to people as they came in. And of course, you learn as you go along. And now everything is digitalized, except the experience.
So back in 98, let's all date ourselves. It was AOL and Yahoo addresses. What was it like
Yeah.
in the UK? Was it AOL and Yahoo there too?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Hotmail.
Yeah.
I would guess anyway. Yeah, Hotmail as well. But yeah, it was all of that. And our first, I don't know if you've seen the screenshot of the first Amazon website page, their first website page. But our Ceilidh Club page was kind of like that as well. Very heavy, and you're paying people a fortune, right, to do to create those pages. And then they were very rarely, the only thing you ever updated in it was the events. And even that required a bit of HTML, or you had to get somebody else to do it at the time. So yeah, it's quite incredible how the world has moved on. But now everybody, the people that work with me, I mean, quite a lot of them are students. And I used to ask the question, well, what age were you in '98? And they went, oh, it used to be, well, I was 2 or 3 or 4, or, now it's, well, I was -5, I'm -10, you know,
I was born
as
yet.
life
Yeah.
goes on.
Yeah.
Uh, but that's one of the great things about it. One of the great things about running it is I love the people that I work with. I love the bands. I love everything about it. And one of the key values that we have is mutuality. So I don't know if you've come across Mars Company. There are 5 principles, or maybe 6 principles that they have. But one of them is mutuality, and I thought that's a great value to have. So I stole that for the Ceilidh Club. And everybody that deals with the Ceilidh Club should feel good about working with the Ceilidh Club, whether they're working in the cloakroom, or they're the venues that we're hiring, or the bands that they're working in, and of course the customers as well. Everybody should feel good about working with us. And consequently, we've worked with some of the same bands for over 20 years now. We're in our 28th year, I think, coming up in December. And we're still working with some of those original people that came to did our first Ceilidhs, and of course new ones as well, because bands have come and gone. But we're still in the same venue that we were in for our first event, although we've got a lot more events there now, and we also have a lot more venues that we're dealing in. But I think working over the long term with people is just, or having the aim to work with over the long term with people is brilliant, because it means that you're setting yourself up well to start with. Because when you're meeting people, when you're thinking about working with them, you're thinking, can I work with this person for 5 years, 10 years? Well, I still feel like working with them in 10 years' time. Of course, you don't know what the future is going to bring, but if you can go in with that attitude, I think you're going to make better decisions about who you work with. And as Warren Buffett says, you can't make a good deal with a bad person. And you can't always judge everything right, but if you go in with that attitude of saying we've both got to get something positive out of this relationship, And are we still going to both be around? Do we want to be around in 5 or 10 years' time together? Then I think that's a great way well, it's a great way for me to run a business anyway.
Yeah, yeah. And like you were saying earlier, maybe it was before we were on camera, of being an entrepreneur, there's ebbs and flows and ups and downs and, lots of challenges. And you were talking about going from one failure to the next and all the things. And, just having really great people around you while that's happening. So just kind of like going to a Cali dance is like, that connection and that support and that camaraderie to get you through that moment and be like, this is why I'm doing this.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great when you have everybody genuinely working with working for other people, working for to treat other people as you would like to be treated yourself. I think that's the kind of the golden rule that runs through all religions. But I think that is a great rule for life in general, and so we try to do that with whoever we meet. And I still I still remember putting leaflets in Time Out. Time Out is the London-based events magazine, and I thought it'd be great promotion for the Ceilidh Club. So I got something I can't remember. It was something like 40,000 flyers printed that went in Time Out and cost me the equivalent of a very nice holiday at the time. And you got something like £1 off entry into the Ceilidh Club if you brought the flyer along with you, and which was at that time, 15 or 20%, I think, probably 15% maybe of the entry price. And one person showed up with it. And I thought, I mean, you live and learn. You don't beat yourself up. You just think, well, I'm not going to do that promotion again.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because we can talk about business and marketing for a second, but it takes people usually, a bunch of um, impressions before they take an action. And a lot of the times, those impressions are in the periphery rather than direct on. And so, even though you had one person bring that flyer, you don't know how many people it was the first to the sixth impression, and they just used a different impression for the seventh to
Sure.
actually get to the event.
Absolutely. That's absolutely true. And it's part of that old advertising slogan. I know that 50% of my advertising is wasted. I just don't know which 50% it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely true. And that's why the major part of my role, I have two bits to my role really. One is operational, which is making sure that we've got the halls booked and the bands booked, and you're thinking 12 months plus ahead generally in that. But making sure that as of wherever we are now, tomorrow we've got a Ceilidh tomorrow night or Saturday night. Um, Making sure that everybody's all scheduled for that, including the staff. On the operational side, but on the marketing side, it's about going out and finding the audiences, because London is a transient place. People come and people go. So even though we've got 12,000 people or 10,000 people on our mailing list and 34,000 contacts, plus our socials and Facebook groups and other things, I still spend a lot of my time thinking about, well, how could people hear about the Ceilidh Club? And it's never ending as far as that's concerned, because the way people hear about things is different. But the best way, of course, is word of mouth. Get a great product, and then people will do your marketing for you.
Yeah. It sounds like you should be in the airport, like the advertising specific to the day before the day of the event, because, I've just arrived. What do I do tonight?
Well, I mean that's true. I mean, we do a bit of we do use different advertising things for people who are looking to do things this night or this week and things like that. One of the good things from a business point of view is that a lot of our Ceilidhs sell out. So 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks in advance for some of them. more so in winter than in summer. But quite often we're sold out for that night, or so we're not quite the spontaneous thing. But next week there's still tickets available if anyone's listening.
Well, this is not going to drop until summer, so yeah.
Okay,
So definitely, if you're saying that they sell out more in the winter, so if when this drops, definitely go get your tickets
worthwhile
because it
checking
will be
out.
summer. So you said you're in your 28th year. Are you going to do something massive for your 30th birthday?
Um, I don't know actually. I, you know, I quite like to think that we are, in some ways, reasonably unimportant in people's lives. The fact that we exist, we give lots of people enjoyment. We have probably 1,000 people a month or something like that coming to our events overall. Maybe slightly more than that. And we know that from the measurement that we get, we do a questionnaire afterwards. And I don't know if your listeners are familiar with NPS scores, net presenter scores,
Mhm.
but we get very good marks on our NPS scores. So, and of course, there's a high correlation between a high NPS score and a growing business. And NPS is you get asked the question, how likely are you to recommend your product, the Ceilidh Club, to a friend or relative, colleague, and you mark it out of 10. So we regularly get the same marks, if not better, than Google or Apple or Amazon in this. And we get lots of other feedback as well. But so we know we've got a good product. But so I don't know whether we'll do anything particularly special. I think if we do, I think what we'll do is we'll do something charity wise. We've supported various charities over the years, one of which is called Mary's Meals. They provide meals for school children. It started off in Africa and Malawi, which is one of the poorest countries in the world. And they provide warm meals for kids at school in Malawi. And one of the issues that they face in Malawi and is common throughout countries is the best way out of it is poverty is education. And a lot of girls, a lot of kids, but particularly girls, miss out on education because they get pregnant at a young age. And so one of the things that they do is by providing a warm meal in a school, the parents are more inclined to send the kids to school in order to get the warm meal, and on the back of it, they get an education. So it's a fabulous charity. I think they feed more. I've not looked recently, but it's something like 1.3, 1.4 million kids a day throughout the world. And somewhere like Malawi, 10 quid or £12 15, 16, $17 or not is enough to feed a kid in school for a year. So I think if we do something for our 30th anniversary, then it'll be something to do with thinking of others and providing something for that will maybe stay. So maybe we should do that. Maybe we should try and look at, because they often build kitchens in schools. So maybe we should look to build a kitchen in a school. Maybe that sounds like a great idea now you've mentioned it, or now you think about it. We should build a kitchen in a school somewhere through fundraising in our 30th year. And then that would, I think, be a fitting tribute to using our 30 years round the sun.
Yeah. Well, you know me, I like to innovate and think of ideas and all the things. And as soon as you said 30, I was like, oh, we need like a Cali festival so all of us transients can fly in and celebrate. So maybe you have your fundraiser over the year and you have a final celebration party and people can fly in and join
Well,
in.
that would be a nice idea, actually. We could do it on I think it was the 4th of December we started. So the closest Friday or Saturday to the 4th of December. Uh, what are we, 26? Another 28. Yeah, 2028. You never know.
Yeah. Well, you heard it here first if it
You
happens.
heard it here first.
So where are you in London? If people are flying in, how do they get in touch with you? How do they
Well,
come to
it's
London?
ceilidhclub.com. If you put in Ceilidh London, I used to work in the airline industry, so it's Charlie Echo India Lima India Delta Hotel Charlie Lima Uniform Bravo. Ceilidhclub.com is the website, and we are in Camden, Primrose Hill area, quite often, maybe three to four times a month. We're quite often around Victoria as well, in an old drill hall there. We're out west in Paddington in a beautiful old church called, well, it's Grand Junction, the Church of St. Mary's, in the dancing in the nave there. Those are three of our three main venues that we use. So yeah, so Central London, North London, and West London.
Nice, nice. And okay, so you're in Edinburgh. So what is your favorite place to recommend people go to if they visit Edinburgh?
If you go to visit Edinburgh, favorite place is, well, let's think. Where would you go in Edinburgh? Well, what I would do, I get your walking shoes on, and I would walk. Edinburgh has become very touristy and potentially over touristed in some ways, in that it's become very busy in the centre. So I would, I would walk from the old town to the new town, because that really does incorporate Edinburgh's history. And I'd take a good day and start somewhere around the Meadows, which is a lovely open park. Walk up to the high street where the castle is, and it's very touristy, but I mean, it is an old volcanic plug. Walk all the way down the Royal Mile, which has some shockingly tacky shops in it, but it has some lovely buildings associated with it all. Walk down the Royal Mile to the Palace, Holyrood Palace, which is where the royal family still stay when they come to Edinburgh. But it's good to walk round. They do tours of the place. The royal family don't do the tours; other people do the tours.
Mhm.
Um, and then go across the road to the Scottish Parliament, because 20 odd years ago, Scotland used to be an independent country, and then a lot of the nobles invested in a colonial enterprise which was called the Darien Scheme, where they tried to, in modern day Panama, where they tried to emulate what other European colonial powers were doing, France, Spain, England, and go somewhere else and steal other people's land and resources and goods. Anyway, it was a complete failure. They landed in a very inhospitable place. Disease and various things made it a disaster. But a lot of Scottish nobles were impoverished or had lost a lot of money. And England had always been worried about Scotland either invading or teaming up with their arch enemy France. So the English crown made a very savvy move and offered Scottish nobles a lot of money if they would sign up and stop the Parliament being in Edinburgh and join with England into becoming a Parliament based in Westminster. So that's what happened, and the Scottish court then moved down. So the Scottish king then moved down in time to later on moved down in time to become the king of England and Scotland. And so, sorry, the union of the crowns happened, and then the Scottish Parliament moved down to England, and then Scotland lost its decision-making power, and that was only re-established to a limited extent in 2000 or thereabouts. So, go across and have a look at the Scottish Parliament, because that's now where a lot of power, more power now resides. And we've just had our Scottish elections. So go and have a look at that. Have a walk around Arthur's Seat, which is beautiful, and you get very nice views. and then walk down into the new town of Edinburgh, which is designed by partly by by Robert Adam, and is 200 and odd years old. And the old town of Edinburgh was a very medieval place. It was dirty, disease-ridden, and a lot of the rich people were moving down to London. And so, to stop that happening, they built this beautiful new town, which is based, in a similar way to New York, and some of the American cities, on a grid-based system with gardens in the center, and is very nice to walk around. And then once you've done that walking about the place, um, go down to Leith, which is the old. You can walk around the new town, and then you can walk down Leith Walk, and Leith is the old port area of Edinburgh. And when you walk down there, you'll it's become gentrified and yuppified, but it used to be a very important trading area, and that's where people would come. And it was a separate little city or area of its own, but it joined Edinburgh in about 1907. And you can go down there and walk about, and there's lovely bars and restaurants to enjoy. So that, I would say, would be the thing to do. And then when you want to get away from all of Edinburgh, if it is too busy for you, walk up into the hills, to the Pentland Hills, which form the south backdrop to Edinburgh. And you can go up and go for a little nice walk in the hills, and there's a few nice pubs round about there. And again, you'll get a lovely view of Edinburgh and the whole of the East Coast. Um, and you'll get to see that. But Edinburgh is called the Athens of the North because of some of its dramatic architecture, and because and also it's built on 7 hills as well. So take your walking shoes, get up some of the hills, have a look, and if you are into alcohol, or even if you're not, go into some of the local pubs and find some traditional music. There's probably half a dozen pubs or so, at least in the centre of town, where you can walk in and you'll hear people playing traditional music every night of the week. And you don't charge, they won't charge you in there to listen to the music. They might have a hat that goes round, but getting some traditional music. But it's quite a compact city, so a lot of things happen within a square mile, 2 kilometers or so of the city centre. So you don't have to go too far to get a taste of everything that Edinburgh has to offer.
Yeah, and it's one of the most beautiful places that I've been, and certainly the nicest people, for me.
Ah, you're just saying that.
Seriously. I remember I had a quite unique experience myself because, like I said, I hopped on a plane as soon as they opened travel again, international travel again after COVID. And at the time, the United States was considered a red zone, which meant you couldn't go anywhere. And and the UK was considered a green zone, or no, it was orange, I think at the time. And in the middle there was Iceland, that was considered green. And so if you could get into something that was more open than where you wanted to go, you could get to that place if you spent time in the higher level for 10 days. So Iceland said, we will allow people in from the United States because they were dying for tourism, right? So we will allow people in from the United States, but you have to quarantine until we get your test results back. So we had to have a COVID passport, I had to have all of our shots, and we had to quarantine until the results came back. And so I was like, done, 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 and done. Like, I was dying to travel. So I was like, done, done, and done. And so I went there. I stayed there for 10 days. So I was considered a traveler from Iceland. So I could go anywhere in the world now. And so the next place I went was Edinburgh. And I flew in, I flew in, and I took the train from the airport into Edinburgh. And I remember trying to put a euro into the train because it didn't click for me that you guys were using the British pound instead of euros. So that was my first experience. But then when I landed inside Edinburgh, it felt so much like Boston to me
Yeah, a
that I
lot of
was
people
like,
have said that.
wait a minute, I thought I flew across the pond. How did I end up back in Boston? And I too, like, because at that time, this is how I travel anyway. Like, I sightsee by going for walks. But at that time, that's all you could do because, everything was still closed and you still had to have a passport to get into bars and pubs and all the things. And so I just walked your city, and it just like everything about it reminded me of Boston, from like the Apple store inside an old architecture building to, the Joshua Stairs to the tall buildings to the churches to everything just reminded me of Boston. And then I went to Glasgow, which is so different from Edinburgh. It's like a totally different country. And it reminds me of Lowell, Massachusetts, both in the way that the city is architecturally speaking laid out, but then also the different language that they speak there. The accent feels like a different language. It's the same in Lowell, Massachusetts. Um, but then I had another experience going to Glasgow because when I got there, they were filming an American movie, so there was U.S. flags everywhere, and I was like, "What is happening?" I thought I was in the UK.
Yeah, I mean that's right. I remember that Glasgow's very popular for filming. They do a lot of American movies in there, and yeah, I don't know what it is about the architecture in particular that makes it so popular. But yeah, there's a lot of movies, some in Edinburgh as well, but a lot in Glasgow.
Yeah, and a lot of movies that are depicted to be about Harvard University take place in the UK and in London um, because Harvard has put a ban on media broadcasting inside Harvard Yard.
Oh,
They banned all media, and so there's a lot of architecture that looks very similar outside, in London and in Scotland, that they use to make it look like Harvard University. And also, the freshman cafeteria was actually designed by the same guy who did a lot of the design for Oxford,
okay.
um, and also Harry Potter cafeteria. So there's a lot of symmetry in using his same designs somewhere else.
Yeah, no, I can see that. I don't know about Oxford and Cambridge, but maybe some of the other universities haven't got the same endowment uh, uh, fund that Harvard's got, so they were probably quite happy of a little bit of filming on campus.
Yeah, well, what happened was, because I used to work there, so I know all the trivia. What happened was somebody did come in to film, and and they thought that the Harvard students didn't look Harvard enough. So they brought in actors to look like Harvard students, and Harvard was offended. And so then they banned all,
Really?
yeah.
Fair enough. Now, actors get to impersonate everybody else. I'm not sure why they shouldn't impersonate students as well.
Well,
And
because
I remember also, in talking of iconic aspects, when we were having coffee together in Edinburgh, um, one of the proclaimers walked across the road, further across the road. And I said to you, look at that, there's one of the proclaimers. So for those of you who don't know, the proclaimers are identical twins. So I'm not sure which one it was, Charlie or Craig, and they have written over the last 40 years some of the most iconic Scottish songs about everything, about all different aspects of life, and love, and politics, and football, and religion, and all sorts of things. But they are woven into Scottish life. And 2 years ago, 3 years ago, they did this great gig in Leith Links, which is an area down, if you'll see, if you walk down Leith Walk, which was just fabulous. 5,000 people in a big tent dancing and a sing song. So everybody knows the words to their songs. And it's really worthwhile just digging out a Proclaimers a Proclaimers track and Google them and listen to a few of the songs, as well as watching Train Spotting. So the other iconic Scottish film is Train Spotting, and you might have to watch it with subtitles. But Irvine Welsh's classic book and turned into a film is with Ewan McGregor, which largely launched Ewan McGregor's career in film. Is just it's just fabulous. But I mentions Leith quite a lot when it wasn't gentrified and yuppified and was actually fully druggies.
Um, okay. Well, for anybody who doesn't know what sing song is, it's like massive sing along. So, you know,
Oh yeah, yeah, massive
yeah,
sing along.
yeah, it happens a lot in Irish culture as well. You end up in a bar, somebody starts singing something, and then the whole bar is singing that same song, and it's really fun and cool.
Yeah.
Um, this is not an advertisement, but I use this app called Rungo, and it's basically ways for walking and running
Oh yeah.
where people enter a route, and the cool thing about this app is it doesn't require major streets. Like you can make a route that is in a park. It doesn't require streets. And so it could be like turn left at the Great Oak, you know. And it was designed because they wanted to allow people to create like tour walks, and so there's like, you know, go to the Lincoln Monument, and then here's how you get to the stairs and blah blah blah, you know, whatever. And so there are walks in this app for both Edinburgh and Glasgow that are great tour guides. They give like all sorts of great routes and information. And I did one in Glasgow that was the graffiti tour, and
Oh yeah.
it was fantastic. I saw some really cool graffiti, and I wouldn't have seen it otherwise because it's often like down dark alleys that a single woman would not want to go down, or it's under overpasses, or it's in locations I would not have walked normally.
I mean, I think that's great. That's a great tip because something like graffiti, and you're asking where to go, and I was thinking of these different places. But graffiti is really fascinating when you see it. A good graffiti, and it does take you to different places because I think when you've got things like when you've got a castle and you've got palaces and you know a very innovative and I think greatly designed Parliament building, it's quite easy to some extent just to go for the classic touristy bits. But of course, the real thing is, and I suppose the best tip I've got is just try and talk to some of the locals and get out of the way, talk to the locals, find reasons to talk to people and interact and have a bit of a laugh with people because those are the things you're going to remember. I think when you go, you know, a castle's a castle as far as I'm concerned. You know, Edinburgh Castle's great. You know, Stirling Castle's better, I think, but Edinburgh Castle's great. But it's still just a lot of old stone and stuff, right? You know, and it's the human connection you'll often remember when you go back home, because those are the things that's been fun and it's been a laugh and you've you've joined another part of humanity and you've had something unique, and that's what we're all chasing, I guess, is we're all chasing some sort of unique experience. And with the best around the world, you're never going to get a unique experience going to the castle or going to the palace. You're going to be one of a group of different people. But if you're talking to those people, or if you're talking to locals, or just meeting people in the city, then that's some of the best fun you're going to have, I think.
Yeah. Well, it's not natural for the people on the East Coast of the United States to strike up conversation with strangers. Like it's not in our nature. And so when I went and started traveling at the beginning, and people would approach me or just, you know, converse with me or whatever, it was a little like, what do you want, what are you after, what's your end game, you know. And so I think it's important for people of the United States to know, and this is true for anybody if this is how you grew up, is like it's natural for you in Edinburgh and Scotland, in the UK, in other countries as well, to just be friendly. It's like you're not after anything. You're just being friendly, especially when you're in these friendly environments. And there was one other thing I wanted to say about that, but yeah, just like sitting down in your local pub and having a pint or a coffee or whatever, and striking up a conversation with the person next to you is a great way to learn about a culture, to learn about a place. Oh, I know what I wanted to say. Uh, because you might not think about it, is that you guys do like pot roast family dinner in your pubs and restaurants or whatever on Sundays, and we don't do that in the United States, but it is delicious. Like if you find yourself in London, and or I don't know if you do it in Scotland,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
go have the whatever. What do you call it? What do you call
Well, it's
it?
a Sunday dinner or pot roast or something like that. I mean, traditionally it's meat and veg, meat and two veg, potatoes, and I mean you could put some Yorkshire pudding in there as well or whatever. But of course, vegetarian options these days are available too. And Yeah, I mean, it's a very nice way. And it depends, of course, what time of year you come. In winter, sometimes the pubs are better in many ways because you're coming in at the cold and you're coming into a nice, if you're lucky, find a nice fire. You can Google what pubs have real fires in them, and sit down, have something warming to eat on a Sunday or any day. Um, and, and now, I guess, it's not just Sundays because catering is such an important element to the profits of pubs as well. That you'll find quite often, really quite decent food in pubs, and it's a very good place to go and eat, as opposed to maybe a more expensive restaurant. But you'll get some decent, you'll get decent pub grub in quite a lot of places. But it can still be variable, so it's worthwhile checking out TripAdvisor or doing your research beforehand in terms of where you go. On the one hand, on the other hand, just suck it and see. Go down, have a wander about places, and if you get really good food, then that's great. And if it's a bit mediocre, then okay, well, there's always tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I in my family we grew up having Sunday dinner, which is not it's not the norm in the United States. Most families don't sit down and eat together, let alone do it on a weekend day. And so when I had been traveling for months by this point, and so when I read that I could go and have Sunday dinner in a pub, I was all for it because I was like, oh, home cooked meal.
Oh, well, next time you're in Edinburgh, Sally, you either have to come to ours for Sunday dinner, or we can meet in a pub and have Sunday dinner together, whichever you fancy.
Sounds perfect. Sounds perfect. Well, it has been such a delight to talk with you, to just share stories and have a laugh and talk about Callie. And I mean, we've been friends working together for years, and so it's nice to just like sit and chat, have
It
fun.
really is. It
Yeah.
really is. And as you, since I have been doing this since '98, it's very nice to see all the people that met through doing this. And it's always been great fun chatting with you and working with you over the years. And it really is just a very nice thing to do. And it's a very nice way to spend time.
Yeah, likewise. Likewise. Do you have any final last words that you would like to share?
Well, in Scotland, we have this phrase, it's lang may your lumric. And I think it's a great phrase. And it means long may your chimney smoke, which is a way of also saying uh, long may you have the wealth to provide fire for your chimney and that you prosper. So lang may your lumric is a nice way of signing off in many ways. And the other thing is that because I've had all these phone calls and I've only I've managed to quit WhatsApp that was doing it all. I've kind of lost you as well, so all I can see is myself. So I don't know how to switch off.
Well, that's okay. I will do it when we're ready to. Um, and I love that as an ending. And I'm wondering how the transcriber is going to spell that.
Will that be interesting? Lang me yer lumrik.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Ed, for joining us today on the WyzeCast Show. I'd like to thank you for sharing your wisdom, for your gifts with our audience. If any of this resonated with any of you out there, please do hype, like, share, comment. This is how we, technology. It loves all the connection, just like we do, and this is how it shows that love and gives it out, and how Ed can get in front of even more people so that they can find more joy and vitality in their life, enter that into their life, so to speak. And remember, if life feels hard, your tasks seem impossible, or you just don't like the options laid out before you, there's always a better way. My name is Melanie McSally, and I will see you on the next episode.